tricky one. Yeah, I mean, he should be getting thrown the blue flag, but, you know, this stage of the race, maybe the marshals don't know. They don't know the position, so they need to be told.
And they won't have a data screen as we have, so they don't know that that Ford is a lap down.
Yeah.
Let's have a catch-up with Nico Frost once more. He is 4th in class.
What did you say, Box? Confirm, Box this lap, we suspect a gearbox failure. Box.
Oh, so an airbox failure. So there's not enough air getting into the engine, and air will be escaping out of the pressurized airbox due to the ram effect with that little snorkel that is on top of the cockpit. Real fighter jet cockpits that they've got. A little bit wider, obviously, than an F-16, but same kind of layout, isn't it?
I'm not convinced that's what he said.
Airbox. What did you think?
I thought it was gearbox.
Oh, gearbox, I'm sorry. Okay. Christina Nielsen saying,
please,
give me space, give me space. Right, you keep an eye on what's going on with the Rebellion when it comes into the garage, Duncan. Let's have a quick review on screen. 12 laps now, the lead. 4, it is Nick Tandy leading this race. Teammates to Neil Jarni and Andre Lotterer. In LMP2, it's Thomas Laurent leading in the number 38. That's the Jackie Chan car. In GTE Pro, it is Johnny Adam with the Aston Martin ahead of the Chevy Corvette, and Fred Makovici with the Porsche. He is 3rd. And in GTE Am, it is the number 84 JMW Ferrari. Dries van Toor leading, teammates with Will Stevens and Rob Smith. There is Nico Frost into the garage. We've gone a little bit too far with our camera. Let's see if we can go back. They've got the dollies ready, and Nico Frost, 4th in class, is going to be going into the garage. They've got a problem with the gearbox, they say. Okay. No oil, you say. Right. Oh, painful, painful. Dragging it in.
So, of course, they know before Nico Frost does, because they've got the telemetry back on the pit wall. They can see exactly all the temperatures, everything that's happening with the car. And they know that probably the temperature of the gearbox went up with lack of oil cooling, and therefore they know they've got an issue. And back in the day, you couldn't change the gearbox.
Duncan, you... Oh, whoa! Goodness me, that's the number 2 Porsche of Earl Bamber. Another coat of paint, and he wouldn't have got through there. Here we have it at real speed. Oh, life getting so tight indeed on a run down to Indianapolis at nearly 200 miles an hour. That car may be in 10th position overall, but that was a massive moment. Duncan Vincent telling us that there was gearbox oil leaking onto the pit lane apron. So, yeah.
That's going to cost them a lot of time, that is. You see them being watched by the official there. I'm pretty sure you can't change gearbox,
can you?
No, you can't,
no.
So if it gets to the stage where that gearbox is finished... Right, so Duncan's just saying that it might not be that bad, and it could just be a pipe that's come off or broken.
They'll do the brakes whilst they're here. But they're confident they can do it quickly. Oh, he's getting out of the car. He's unplugged the radio. Back with GTE Pro. Look how close it is. It's ignore the Ford, but the other 3 are 1, 2, and 3 so in class.
Johnny Adams got past. Johnny Adams is past the Ford. Did I see that correctly?
Yes, the Ford, which is a lap down.
Yes, so he has got that car in between himself and the Chevy of Jordan Taylor, which is fantastic from his point of view. That's exactly what he wants. Now he'd like that Ford to stay as long as possible in between him and that Corvette, because it gives him a chance to stretch his legs and just get away. And now Jordan Taylor has to think about the Porsche of Fred Makovici catching him up from behind. which is ideal for Johnny Adam.
That Aston's pulling away from that Corvette, isn't it? Pulling away.
Well, the Corvette can't quite close in on the Ford. So it's not like he's all over it and, you know, trying to get it out of the way. It's that he actually can't quite close that gap. I mean, Scott Dixon, he may be a lap down, but he's no slouch. So they've obviously had their issues with their car as well. Nico Frost.
Let's have another catch up with what the crew are saying to Nico.
Fab, I'm thinking Nico might as well get out of the car, isn't he? When there's a big crack in the side of the gearbox casing or inside of that cover plate, it doesn't look exactly the same as the previous problem, but without a doubt it's quite a long job.
Crack in the casing.
So confirmation then from Smithy, I think he's the technical director of the team, that it's a long job. And if he's saying it's a long job, then it really is a long job. That's going to put them well down. And, well, actually, we don't even know. I'm sure they don't even know how big a job yet, because I don't want to be pessimistic, but it could even be terminal.
Now then, second and third in class. The Corvette, what's going to happen here? Oh, the Porsche runs on, but gets away with it.
That's right in front of us.
Is the Flex Pro car. Flex Box, sorry.
So let's see what happened. Just dropped it on the... Oh, very lucky with that Ferrari not to collect it. Mark Patterson at the wheel. Surely one of the older drivers in the race. No harm done, just dropped it on the exit.
And he'll be on his way. This is the lone Toyota in this race. Look at the other garage doors. They are shut. Toyota. What do they have to do? They need a farm of black cats to walk in front of them one day to try and get some luck here at the Le Mans 24 Hours. Anthony Davidson, rather pained expression. But he's on his way. They had a delay about 12 hours ago. They had to replace the battery and the front hybrid unit. And look, Sebastian Bourdais sums it up. Yeah.
Sebastian
Buemi, sorry, I'm delusional now. Bourdais not here, of course. He should be in the Ford.
So we're hearing the 51 Ferrari, who was fighting up there in the top three for a long time. And had contact with the number 90 TF Sport Aston Martin with Rob Bell at the wheel, is back on track after a substantial time loss fixing the front end of that car. It's now back on track, down in 49th overall. Just left the pits with Michele Rugolo at the wheel. And still the Chevy is not by the Ford as the Aston gradually ekes away further and further. Johnny Adams at the wheel of that Aston Martin in the lead of GT Pro.
When you're behind a GT car, in a GT car, you must lose downforce as well.
Yeah, there's so much air on these cars. You gain a lot. You gain the fact, but you're in the toe on the straights. But in the fast corners, it's very difficult to stay close behind the car in front of you. Right, there was a straight on by the
Dempsey Proton Porsche.
Yeah.
Number 77, that is.
Sixth in class. No harm done. Best thing to do, if you think you're not going to make the corner, just go straight on. Nico Frost getting briefed about what's wrong with the car. Not a nice situation for him. Doing a great job in that car. It looks like no fault of his, and we have a reliability issue. That is with the 31 car gradually now slipping down the order. The Rebellion 31, 8th at the moment. Sitting in the pits, being fixed. It's a substantial time lost with that car now as they try to repair the gearbox. Finally, the Chevy moves by the Ford. Jordan Taylor, second place in GT Pro. Frank McAfee is next in line. So just ahead of them, you can see Johnny Adams just up the road. So all these cars run at a very similar pace. I think in the end, probably either Scott Dixon saw a blue flag and let them by, or he just decided, oh, come on, boys, on you go.
The Porsche GT guys look on as we are riding in with that car. Third position in class. Up a couple of gears, down to first gear. Slowest corner on this racetrack. Second, third.
So we got confirmation of a blue light. It might have been for them, but certainly there's blue flags being flown, blue lights being shown for that Ford. So McAfee is up behind the Ford of Scott Dixon, who's a lap down already and will be put two laps down. So he has to give way sooner or later.
Floor coming off that car. That's the Nico Frost car.
I think my sweater's coming off. The heat's building in this commentary box. I'm going to have to take my sweater off.
Okay, then. Well, he hasn't got much fingernails left anyway, has he? Because that is a year's work and a year of pushing and fighting to try and win your class at Le Mans. Gone. The Porsche leads the LMP1 class. Thomas Laurent in the number 38 Jackie Chan car leads in LMP2. Johnny Adam leads GTE Pro for Aston. And Dries van Toor leading the GTE AM class in the number 84 Ferrari, the JMW Motorsport car. That is the leader of this motor race as we come up to 9:15 here local time in France. It's Nick Tandy at the wheel. May this be his second Le Mans victory in only the second time he drives an LMP1 car at this racetrack. But there's a long way to go. First time he drove a big car.
That is a good point.
He won the race.
Good point, yes.
So there's a big stat. I mean, he drove here last year in a GT car. Porsche kept Nick under their wing. But
well, he's a contracted factory driver, but it's up to them where they put him. And after all, he was put into the third car, as you said, 2 years ago. Probably wasn't expected to win, went ahead and won, but Porsche didn't change their lineup much. They have over the winter, last winter, as we see the Aston Martin doing its stop. That's is that Johnny Adam? Yep. Now leaving the pits. Darren Turner taking that car over. So they will drop out of the lead of this race. Fred McAfee, actually Jordan Taylor, takes it over in the Chevrolet.
Let's see how the pit stops unravel, though, with regards to that Aston Martin. The last time that Aston Martin V8 Vantage will be racing here at Le Mans in the Pro class.
So a question on Twitter, I'm just looking at Twitter for a minute. JCHK from Hong Kong asking why some cars have yellow lights, and so basically the GT cars run yellow lights to differentiate them from the prototype cars which run the whiter light. Simple as that.
We're going to be old and sad in 20 years' time and looking at YouTube clips of the onboard of that Porsche, because it's cool. It sounds so good.
Yeah. when everything's electric, you mean?
Yeah. Or hydrogen, yeah.
So a question from Shari as well, asking why Mark Webber's not racing. Well, simply, Mark Webber has retired. He's had enough. He's had a long career. He's reached the top of Formula One. He's reached the top of prototype racing. Didn't quite get that Le Mans victory. Just decided, you know what, it's time to call it a day. Still an ambassador for Porsche. Still very busy doing Formula One, doing other jobs. You know, that's the thing. You spend your life from a very young age being a racing driver, and you don't do anything else. And sometimes, like Mark Lieb, another good example, has pretty much retired from racing for Porsche and actually works for Porsche back in Germany in the factory now. So he's decided to take on a different career at a different time in life. So yeah, Mark Webber just moving on, doing different things, doing TV stuff, and still an ambassador for Porsche. It's a cool video from Dempsey over in California, Southern California in America. He's got a little clip of his setup. He's got almost a better setup than we have in the commentary box on his little videos. He knows everything that's good. He knows before we do, pretty much.
Well, there's some wildlife that you didn't expect to see during the Le Mans coverage. Huge contingent of Danes, as always, here at Le Mans. 9-time Le Mans winner Tom Christensen still involved with some TV coverage. Massive, great big TV coverage that the Danish TV do send back to Denmark. And as always, the fans here in their chairs, there'll be a bit of sunburn around this place by the time the race is finished, but as always, the Sunday morning nod.
Yeah, nice and relaxed, nice and warm, shorts and t-shirt. Be sure to get some sunblock on, fellas, boys and girls. We've seen a lot of very red people walking around in the last few days, perhaps using a beverage or two to help with the pain from the sun.
Leader of the race comes in, as we saw a quick glimpse of that Chevrolet Corvette leading GTE Pro. Now, they don't need to rush that pit stop, but that's easier said than done. They have a 12-lap advantage at the front of this race. And at 3.5 minutes a lap, all is looking well.
As we knock on wood.
We knock on wood. Well, we just don't want any bad luck to happen to anybody. Yep. It's not a question of favoritism, but just bad luck. That's a 42-minute lead.
Right.
Essentially.
Actually, yeah, still not that much, is it? So a question again on Twitter about the championship, about the race. The race itself is a standalone race, but it is part of the World Endurance Championship. So a lot of viewers just tune in for this one race, the Le Mans 24 hours. But there's a whole championship taking place all over the world. The race dates are on the websites, etc. But it visits Silverstone, Spa. It goes to China. It goes to Bahrain. It goes to Mexico, America, COTA in Austin, Texas. So Fuji also in Japan. So some fantastic race circuits it goes to. It's all part of a championship. This race is worth double the points for that championship, which is why it's so important that they get to the end, because it's worth double the points and it can make a big difference. So even if Anthony Davidson, for instance, in the number 8 car, he's currently lying third in P1, there's pretty much no chance they will win this race. But they can get third in points for this race, and it will go towards their championship, which they are leading at the moment.
Look at the gearbox. Look at the cluster going in. So they're getting rid of one part of it. They can't change the gearbox casing, I believe, but they've got to get that located on the studs. And, oh, the frustration. Oil will be running down your elbow, and you've got to get the selectors in the right place to get it in. And all the time that you're doing that, the driver is hovering over you.
Yeah, I must admit, if it's me, I wouldn't be standing.
Get out of the way.
I'd be just taking a rest, because you never know when you're required again. So just chill out. Oh, his sister car
leaving.
Having troubles.
No, he was leaving whilst the mechanic had still yet to attach
the
thing. Are they going to get a penalty for that? That's the second place car in LMP2, because you're leaving before the mechanics have gone back over the line, which is part of the rules. Here we go. Look, 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 watch. The lollipop man says stay. Stay, because he almost raised the lollipop. Yeah, you got to keep that lollipop on the floor. Easier said than done from this commentary position, but it just wavered up, even though he had his hand.
Well, we've seen that. The officials have seen it. We might well see some message flash up pretty soon about a possible drive-through or added time. So still looking at that fight. Scott Dixon is absolutely right there with the Corvette, stuck in between the middle of the Corvette and the Porsche. It's not for position. He is 2 laps down. Fred Makovic is the next car up in the Porsche, which is running in 3rd position at the moment. Sorry, no, he's 2nd position at the moment. So, yes, that is 1st and 2nd. And they've got the car running in between. And I'm surprised there's not been a bit more urgency to say, listen, Mr. Ford driver, please move aside. You're not part of our race. You're 2 laps down in 7th place. Yes, I don't think that's right. I think he shouldn't really be there. Looking on at Nico Frost, again, it is like it's like rewinding time, seeing his father from 30 years ago or so.
Yeah, the early days of his father driving in Formula One, initially with McLaren before he went to Renault, and then when he left Renault and went back to McLaren, and then won the first of his championships.
That's the other thing. You see a quick flash from the Corvette as he comes up on that AM car, Ferrari AM car. He gives a quick flash of the lights. So you've got a button on the steering wheel which flashes the lights. Generally, if you press it once, it flashes a few times. And I'm surprised that Fred Makovic isn't continuously flashing that Ford that's in front, because he has to be holding him up a little bit. You see how close he is? I'm surprised he's not, because also Fred Makovic, again, we talk about Nürburgring a lot, but because there's 160 cars on track at Nürburgring Nordschleife in the VLN and the 24 hours, you are continually flashing the lights at bag markers. So Fred Makovic is regularly doing that, and I'm surprised he is not just on the lights all the time. Move, 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 get out my way, because he's holding him back, he's costing him time. Porsche should be straight down to Ford to speak to them and say, listen guys, just let him go.
In the meantime, they're just saying hi to Porsche at the Porsche Museum at Zuffenhausen, where they have a gathering of all of their guests and VIPs and customers. And I know that Hans-Joachim Stuck is there this weekend, giving his insights as a former Le Mans victor and sports car world champion into the background of what is needed to try and win this race.
Going back to that, there's no blue flag being shown to Scott Dixon.
Yeah, it's a lot better than the first. The track's in a nicer window now for this tyre.
Okay, copy. You are fastest car on the track.
So that was Anthony just reporting back to the team that I think in his earlier stint, they must have put him on a harder tyre, and it sounds as though it was just that little bit too early for that harder tyre, and he couldn't get the grip developed in the car. Now it's warming up a bit more. He's saying the car is handling a lot better on that harder tyre. I guess he's on a medium.
So, the classification in the LMP1 class, it is Porsche leading by now 17 laps in class, 12 laps overall. It is for the Germans. Talking about Porsche and a man who came over from Hollywood to drive here at Le Mans is Patrick Dempsey, and Duncan is down there, and he is the envy of all of the females of the entire globe, I rather fancy. Duncan?
Yeah, thank you very much. Patrick Dempsey joins me out the back of the garage. It's nice and quiet out here. Patrick, first of all, it's great to see you here in France at Le Mans. I would have liked to have seen you driving, but how are the guys getting on in the car?
Well, we had a really good night until about daybreak, and then we had an issue with the gearbox. We had to bring it in and fix that, and it cost us a few laps. So we're running 6th at the moment, but we were fighting for 3rd all night long. Got as high as 2nd, so we had a good shot at the podium. You know, still a lot of time left. We'll see what happens.
You know, endurance racing is a hard thing. It's a whole team effort. What's the morale like in the team as we come round to this part of Sunday? You know, there's still effectively a whole 6-hour world endurance race time left.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at points right now for the championship, so the guys are grinding it out. It's one of those days where you just got to put your head down and just dig, you know? And morale's good. I mean, we talk after each pit stop and just, like, keep focused on what the goal is here and try to get the best result we can.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's Patrick Dempsey down there with Duncan Vincent. Good to see him here, even though he's not driving, but got his interest, of course, with the number 77 Proton Porsche. Christian Reed, Matteo Cairoli and Marvin Dienst at the wheel of that car. On board again with Anthony Davidson. They're still in this race. They had the front engine essentially replaced, the electric motor and a new battery put into that car. Required the entire front suspension to be removed from that car about 12 hours ago. They've lost some 17 laps, but they're in the race and they're on course for 3rd in class.
An interesting thing I've just read on Twitter, and yeah, it's just sprung to mind. I'm just reading the Porsche LMP1 team Twitter feed, and Neo Gianni reporting, saying mentally it's much harder to try and nurse the car home when you're not pushing to the limits. Too many thoughts come up. And yeah, that is the point. You know, he's used to driving flat out, and all of a sudden he's being told, no, just take it easy, you're in good condition. And that's when errors creep in, when you're not driving, you know, to 9 or 10 tenths. When you're only driving kind of 7 tenths, it's a lot easier to make a mistake.
Complacency, I think, is a word one might use.
Yeah, and you've got too much time to think about silly little things. Like, whoa, right, when I get out of the car, what will I have to eat? You know, will I have some cereal? Just random little thoughts that go through your mind.
Not quite, did I turn the gas off, did I put the cat out?
I've got a different mind than everyone else.
Oh, okay then, all right then. What, you don't have a cat?
No, I don't.
Okay then.
Allergic to cats.
Oh, well, that's a short conversation then. Now, the Nico Frost Rebellion is still having that gearbox fixed. They've put the...
So yeah, we heard earlier on the gearbox casing was cracked. That was the technical director of the team that reported that. We heard it on the radio, and that it would be a long wait.
Now that's some kind of filter that goes on the end of a pipe. So is that the end of the pickup for the oil that's then... No, that would be for the engine. So, yeah, well, who knows what that part's for. But if the case is cracked, it doesn't matter what you replace inside the case, the oil's still going to fall out of it.
That is the point. That's why I was a little bit pessimistic, but I thought that, you know, I think it's a 50-50 whether they can even get back in the race. But then again, I'm sitting in the commentary box. I'm not down there, so it's... Anyway, Ollie Jarvis getting ready to get into the leading LMP2 car, the 38 car. Currently, Laurent is at the wheel of that Orica.
1 lap lead. Pure 1 lap lead.
So far, so good for them. Although we know also early in the race when Ollie Jarvis was in the car, he pitted and he couldn't get the engine restarted. So whether that was a one-off or whether they found that in subsequent stops. Just a bit of limbering up, try and wake himself up before getting in the car. Undoubtedly he'll be in for at least a triple stint.
On board with the winner of this motor race here last year, outright, this is Romain Dumas, who won with the Porsche alongside Mark Lieb and Neil Jarni. What, is there a weekend in the summer where Romain Dumas is not driving a very fast and a very exotic car? He's either at Pikes Peak, he's at Monte Carlo Rally, he's having fun on French Rally Championship, he's driving LMP2. What a life.
Busy lad, yeah.
And the car that he's got for the Pikes Peak hill climb in Colorado, an all-electric car, 4 motors on each corner of the car, open-top kind of LMP2 looking car from 4 or 5 years ago, barn door across the back as a rear wing, and a stunning piece of kit that he's going to be driving at Pikes Peak. They will get Sebastian Loeb's outright record very soon. They will do it. They will do it. No loss of power the further and higher it goes, because it doesn't need oxygen to breathe, does it?
Yeah.
The problem, and they were battling with Rhys Millen in previous years, is the sheer heat that those motors then generate during the, 10-mile hill climb as it is up to the top of Pikes Peak.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I actually didn't know about this project, but I do know a little bit about electric cars, having driven the EP9, the Next EV EP9. I took the production car record at Nürburgring Nordschleife not long ago, so I know a little bit about those cars and how it's not just about, as you say, the battery dissipation. It's about heat build-up in the battery as you drive it, so it gets hotter and hotter. And as you hit 80 degrees, you start destroying the batteries themselves. So you can run those batteries till about 80 degrees, and then, yeah, they start to derate, let's say. But a lot of power available in electric cars now. They tend to put a motor in each corner, one in each corner, so you've got 4 motors in the car. Of course, battery technology, as we watch this, sorry,
That's
getting
okay.
carried away,
I'm keeping an eye on it.
That's a Chevy of Jordan Taylor in the pits for her scheduled stop. Fred Makavihi takes the lead in 91. So yes, electric cars are coming. You know, they're a bit Marmite. That's the thing. Some people love them, some people hate them. But you're not going to stop them. They're not going to. I don't believe they're ever going to fully overtake everything. But I think there is a place for them. And as Formula E is showing, there's race series for them as well. And as that technology moves forward, you're going to see longer races and the batteries lasting longer. Oh, a bit of a
dab of Oppo. Oh, hang on a minute. That's class leader in AM.
Is it?
That's class leader in AM.
I'm not sure.
That's the JMW Motorsport car. That's the 84. And Van Tour having a massive moment and lucky to get away with it. My goodness me. Well, as we talk about Romain Dumas, the outright winner of this race 12 months ago, and his Pikes Peak project that he's got on the boil, go and follow him. Go and have a look at the car at Romain Dumas on Twitter, and you can see all the pictures of the car, and it is a piece of kit. It is a total piece of kit. And the glory, and you know I'm a little bit biased, Peter, the glory of hill climbing is there's barely any rules. There's barely any rules about downforce and the like, so you can really have some fun. And Romain Dumas, as I said, couple of years he'll get knocking on the door of Sebastian Loeb's record, and Sebastian Loeb took the record by, off the top of my head, 90 seconds away from Rhys Millen. 90 seconds in a 10 and a bit
Yeah,
minutes.
I'm just looking at that car now. That
it's a piece of kit, isn't it? It's a total piece of kit.
Yeah, that will not be long until he takes a record, or a car of that ilk takes a record.
So then, the Jackie Chan car in the garage, as Nico Frost has got his crash helmet back on. The guy that was knocking on the door of an outright podium here in France at Le Mans. Oil for the boîte de vitesse. They're taking the oil out as they're going to sort that car out, but it's ongoing, it's ongoing. He's dropped to 12th overall. This is the Jackie Chan car. They're doing some work in an odd area, but they are back behind the line. Hang on, which number is that? 38.
38, leader, yep. Laurent at the wheel.
Got a lap lead.
So he's probably on his last stint now, the start of his third stint. Actually, we saw... No, Ollie Jarvis. We did see Ollie Jarvis getting ready, of course we did. So as the car moves down the pit lane and it crosses that line at the end of the pit lane, it registers the current driver, who is now Ollie Jarvis. Oh, what's happening there? United Autosport car, 5th in class, the 32 car.
Porsche curves. Here we go, on the way in, and the Ligier goes round again.
Willow in
it's
at the
Ligier.
wheel.
Keep it going.
He got it, you know, had that been last year, he'd have been in the wall there, wouldn't he? Alan, come on the mic and talk to us.
Alan McNish.
Yes, he would have been in the wall. Losing it there was a wall right up against where the gravel trap actually is. And I've seen quite a few cars hit it, and so he'd have been out of the race. We've seen probably 3 or 4 cars in that position, actually, in that exact spin this time. Just hitting the inside curb, Peter, or alternatively holding the steering and not opening up early enough when they do feel the rear of the car starting to slide. So he's got away with that one, quite fortunately. But it's a tricky corner at the best of times, but they've sort of given that extra runoff area, which I think saved quite a few people on this occasion.
Yeah, I think it's a natural evolution of safety, gradually nipping a little bit here, there and everywhere. Another car off 65, looks like it did a spin 11th in class. It's Christina Nielsen in that car. We saw her actually get into the car not long ago, so she's fairly early in her stint. Ooh. Okay, so...
Was that a bit of trying to avoid someone? Yeah, but there was a car, I think, overtaking, and she kind of got pushed up onto the curb and then took the avoiding action initially.
So no harm done. Rejoins the track on the inside. Careful not to go straight back across to the racing line, just in case.
So the driving that she's been doing stateside in America coming to the fore here in the World Endurance Championship. Now the heat haze starts to appear on that dragged out of the last part of the Porsche curves and karting towards the final chicane. It is 20 to 10 here, 9:40 here local time in the Département du Save, the area, the county, call it what you will, of this part of France. Look at the heat haze. Look at the pulses of the engine coming out of the exhaust each bank. The pulses of the 4-stroke engine pushing those exhaust gases out of that side exhaust on that super slow-mo. Panciatici driving that Alpine at the moment, and he is 3rd in class and he's 4th overall, and he's a lap back of Dominic Hannemer Hansen in the number 13 Rebellion.
I think he's been a bit of a change around in that class. It's been up and down. It looked like there was going to be a Rebellion domination at one point, but now leading the class is Oliver Jarvis, who was the guy that jumped into the lead and led at the start of this race. And it's been quite a long time since Jota were in that position, basically 19 hours ago. There's a bit of a gap, 2 minutes 21 seconds they're ahead, which is basically 2/3 of a lap. And so they've got quite a comfortable gap, even with a pit stop. And they have made 2 more pit stops than the Orica of Heimer Hansen behind. The Rebellion car.
Quick catch up with GTE Pro. We spent a long time looking at GTE Pro about an hour ago with a huge battle going on between the Porsche, the Aston Martin and the Chevrolet. Fred Makovici leads GT Pro at the moment by 52 seconds ahead of Pipo Derani, the Brazilian who's in the Ford. Darren Turner, he's third in class with the number 97 Aston Martin at present. That is the number 37, sister car to the one leading LMP2 at the moment. That is David Cheng at the helm. He is fourth in class, fifth overall. Don't forget, and I know that we haven't seen him on camera, but he's having a very lonely race. It is the number 1 Porsche, the Porsche 919 Hybrid of Nick Tandy, who leads this motor race overall as Nico Frost gets up and in the car. He'll be strapped in, he'll be ready to go, even though he's lost a lot of time with that gearbox problem. And it remains to be seen if they get it, when they get it going, how reliable will it be if there's a cracked gearbox casing? I've heard that not only from Duncan Vincent down there in the pits, but I've also heard it from my sources on French television when Nico did an interview for them in French as well. So, now, if the car is on the jack, why are they putting it on the stands? I don't understand that, because you could just pick the car up and put the wheels on, drop it down. Okay then, well, as I said, we had a great battle about an hour ago watching the Aston Martin battle to lead the GTE Pro category. Darren Turner is just over a minute and a quarter back of the outright lead. John Gore is the boss down there with Aston Martin, and Duncan Vincent is going to catch up with him.
John Gore catches up with me in the Aston Martin pit. Now, John, could you just give us a bit of an overview of how the team are performing thus far through the race?
Well, it's a tight fight right at the front. There's 5 brands, all fighting: Porsche, Ferrari, Corvette, Ford, Aston. It's all pretty close, and it'll depend on, you know, who gets the brakes and what safety zones or safety cars or slow zones across the next few hours. So that's a big fight for the front. It was a pity about the 95 car. It had about a minute's lead when Richie just went deep into Mulsanne on his outlap. So full fuel load and made a mistake and misjudged his braking point. But that car will still fight for WEC points, which are obviously quite important from a championship perspective. The Beechstein car is fighting right now for a podium in Am. And the 2 other cars are fighting each other for position, actually. But Paul, the 98 car, is fighting for WEC points, so he can get third in WEC, which is quite important as well. So we've got our eyes focused on a few prizes for all the cars, and look, it's just starting to heat up again, isn't it? You know, so it's going to be it's a long way from over.
I've got to ask you, are you impressed with the pace that Jonathan Allen's been showing ever, Johnny?
He done a brilliant job, and you know, particularly that last stint there, he was very patient behind the Chevy. They were very, very close in a straight line, but he's very patient and a great overtake, just gone past the start-finish straight, actually. So, and that's one of the ones we're fighting with.
John, thank you very much, and all the best for the rest of the race.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Cheers.
Thank you.
John Gore, manager down there with the Aston Martin squad. As that's Richard Leitz. Yeah, he's got the Austrian flag on the side of that crash helmet. Preparing to get in that 911 RSR. Back on board with the 911 RSR. 5th gear. A 6th gear, as long as you like. As still, Nico Frost is ready to get that Rebellion back out on the racetrack.
He's ready, but are they ready? That's the question.
Is the gearbox ready? That's the big question, yeah. The Rebellion guys, they know about endurance racing. Boy, oh boy, they know about endurance racing, but
of course, this team stepped down from LMP1 privateer as the 67 Derani Ford comes in.
Don't think it's a step down from LMP1. This is LMP2 in 2017.
Yes.
This is a step up.
Okay. Financially, I think it's a step down. Yes, actually, they are running quicker now than they were running with the P1 car. So, yeah, it's a funny old world, isn't it? The whole dynamic of the championships change with the rule adjustments for the P2 cars, a lot quicker now, mainly in a straight line from the Gibson engine. Every car has the same engine in it, and we have the choice of various chassis, Orica, Ligier, Riley and Scott, Dallara. So, yeah, it's very interesting to see how LMP2 is panning out. And actually, those front-running cars have been fairly reliable. Should I say that at this stage? I don't know, yeah. They're fairly reliable, let's say.
In 2?
Yes, LMP2.
Okay.
Yeah. Of course, you know, we were watching a car that's had a gearbox issue, but that could happen to anyone. And that's, you know, that's part of the engine rather than part of the car.
I mean, people thought that the LMP2 cars would be hampered by lack of very, very, very hot and long testing. It's a 24-hour race,
yeah, so
in brutally once-in-2-decade conditions.
Yeah, we're looking on board from Fred McAvicky. He's pulled up behind an Aston Martin. I'm not sure which number that was. I don't think it was Darren Turner. Darren Turner currently in second, so unless Darren passed him.
It's a good-looking car, that. Like that colour scheme, personally.
Yes, it is.
One should be neutral, but I think that'll stand the test of time, and at the Goodwood Festival of Speed in 25 years' time, that'll look so cool. I think it'll really, really work well, as do these cars look so well.
So, yeah, leader there. Could be, no, he's doing one more lap, and we've seen Richard Leitz standing by, getting ready, and he's going to have to hang around for another lap because Fred McAvicky's got enough fuel to do one more lap, and then he'll pit and hand the car over.
Matthias Besch getting ready for his stint.
Besch, of course, in the 13 Orica, the other Rebellion sister car to the 31, which is currently having issues in the pits. We've heard that Nico Frost has got out of the car as well, which is never a good sign. So he's pitted, got out of the car, let them fix it, got back in thinking he's going to leave the pits again, and they've asked him to get back out, which means that stop is going to be even longer. So we are looking, I think that's Darren Turner. Darren Turner now, as Fred McAvicky is in the pits. Darren Turner is circulating. Let's see how that plays out.
No, Fred's still out there.
Oh, sorry, he is still out there, but
Fred's
we know he's coming in next lap. Yes, my mistake.
Okay.
Darren already, he's made his stop probably 3 laps ago, 4 laps ago. Yeah, Duncan, I think, is still in the pits down at 31. Have you got anything to say, Duncan?
Well, it was a gearbox problem, if you remember, and the gearbox, the casing seems to have been remedied and fixed. There's now some commotion in what would be the passenger seat. You could even imagine that. Obviously, these gear changes are electronically done, so it's not a gear linkage. But there's a lot of men fat standing about with 5 extinguishers, which is a little bit worrying. And the rush to get Nico out the car was pretty quick. So he's now out. He's standing at the back of the car. In proper racing driver pose, as you are fully aware of what that looks like, Peter. So, yeah, this is not going very well. There's a good few people in Orica shirts walking about, shaking their heads and rubbing their eyes. So.
Yes, it's a tricky one. I'm still not absolutely convinced that car's going to make it back out.
I kind of agree with you. When it's a gearbox casing, if it's the very back casing, but they've had to work their way quite far up, and it's almost to the point of, is this worth it now? Well, possibly for World Championship points, yes would be the answer. But in the greater scheme of things, the eyes of Nico Frost tell you that it's almost done.
Yeah, it's a sad thing, but they will fight on for the next races in the WEC Championship. As we're watching Darren Turner, he's having a good old battle with the P2 car. You saw Darren pass one side of one of the other Astons, and the P2 car pass the other side. little bit of a squeaky bottom time.
But within 1.5 minutes, it is first, second and third in class for GTE Pro. ...296 laps so far completed by the lead Porsche, Nick Tandy at the wheel. 384 laps were done last year. The record, 397. 397 laps of this current configuration. That was back in 2010 with the diesel-powered Audi R15, Mike Rockenfeller, Timo Bernhard and Romain Dumas that year. That's 5,410 kilometers completed in 24 hours. Just over 3,200 miles.
That's good going. We had a little view. I haven't seen a Ferrari for a while, have we? That was Sam Bird was on the screen just a little while ago. So they're actually in 4th place. They're still hanging in there. It's still a possibility for them. They're a little bit back on the fight up the front, but Sam Bird still got that chance of a victory in GT Pro here in Le Mans 24 hours. As have the 67 Ford. You know, Pipo Derani at the wheel of that, they are in the mix as well. It's going to be, so now, as we predicted, we've got Makovici in the pits, Richard Leitz going in. Darren Turner, I think, should take the lead again, as he's done his stop 3 or 4 laps ago.
So, Makovici in the garage, out of the car. Richard Leitz, the Austrian, replaces the Frenchman in the German car.
So where is Darren Turner? Come on, Dazza, where are you? Right, Darren Turner is now passing in front of us through the Ford chicane. Where is the Porsche? Is that it just leaving down the pits there, or is it down at the end?
No, because Toyota's at the beginning.
I think it's at the end of the pit lane. So come on, cameras. Let's see that end of that pit lane.
And the Porsche's gone. The Aston there. The Aston there. The Aston just gets ahead.
And the Corvette might get ahead as well, because Richard Leitz is not up to speed. Right, onto the Dunlop chicane. Let's see, let's see.
So a change of lead for GTE Pro. Let's have to look at the data screens
there
that
we've
got here. Now there is the number 97 Aston Martin.
The leader
Where
of
is
GT
the Porsche?
Pro, yep.
Look in the background. Where is the Porsche? We need a big wide shot there as they go down the Mulsanne straight. There's the Porsche, second in row in the top of your screen now, just disappeared out of view.
So Darren's got a healthy little lead there. He's going to get this Beechstein Aston Martin out of the way fairly soon. They won't fight him. In fact, he'll just take the toe for a minute and then slipstream by.
Porsche should come out. There it is. There.
So the Corvette jumped the Porsche. The Corvette has jumped him into second place now, as the number 8 Toyota recovers another lap on those two. So that's the best thing for Darren in Aston Martin, that the Porsche's stuck up behind the Corvette again. We know how quick that Corvette is in a straight line. You can watch it just drive away. Porsche probably the slowest on the straights of the GT cars. 3 abreast there for a second, as the Corvette goes by one of the who's at 98? Who's in the 98 car now? That's Pedro Lamy in the Aston Martin AM car. So Antonio Garcia, second place in the race, GT Pro. You can see Frank McAvicky, sorry, Fred's out of the car now. It's Richard Lee's lights flashing away.
Oh, as a manna comes through into Indianapolis.
So he would really like Pedro Lamy to move out the way and let him through as quickly as possible. See his lights flashing? Pedro Lamy, not yet.
You'll get him now.
Probably get him down this next straight. Better exit by the Porsche there. A little bit of sideways action by Pedro. Gradually pulling alongside. Heading down to the Porsche curves now for those cars. And the Corvette in the pits is 64 car, 8th overall. That's the car that had trouble with Tommy Milner. A puncture in the night time, which spun him into the wall, and he had to drive back to the pits. He lost his tyre completely, made a lot of damage to the car. Then he got beached on the way into the pits, got stuck in the gravel and had to be pushed out.
So the Corvette second in class, 8 seconds behind Darren Turner. Darren Turner, 5 hours to go. Already twice a winner in class here at Le Mans. First time he got on the podium, let us not forget. That was again with ProDrive, but with Colin McRae, former podium man in the with
Marcel
the Ferrari.
Fassler there in the pits. I guess he's the next one going in that Corvette.
No, he's just got out.
Has he?
He's just got out.
Ah, yes,
yeah.
Of course, we're not watching that car so closely because they're a little bit further down the order, aren't they? But Ollie Gavin now in that car, 64.
Going to be the hottest day of the week and potentially the hottest day of Le Mans in 2 decades. Here today, as we have the Signatech Alpine on its way, Romain Dumas. Or as I think that the French say, Romain Dumas. Look at him, trying to keep his...
So you talked about, you asked yesterday about does the sweat run down into your eyes? Well, that's exactly what's going on there. He's just trying to rub the sweat out of his eyes.
That was on the exit of Arnage. That wasn't a live picture. That was on the exit of Arnage about a third of a lap ago, and he's on his way into the pits now. So, the Signatech Alpine, one of the 2 cars entered by that crew, rolling up to the pits, fuel going in, mechanic going on, and clearing those bugs off. The Dunlop technician checking, and stocking up with fuel is Romain Dumas himself. Temperature 23 degrees at the moment. It's soon going to be more than that. Unpainted, all carbon fiber crash helmet, hugely expensive, but very light. The technology coming forth for these racing drivers in recent years. Big money, but a big difference in weight over the normal fiberglass shell.
There is, yeah. I'm using 2 different helmets this year, and every time I pick up my normal helmet, the non-carbon one, I think, whoa, this is pretty heavy. Oh, it's 2 cars come close in the pits there. Yeah, so yeah, there is and you know,